Hey everybody, welcome back. We are in season 2, episode 7. I wanted to wait on this message. It's a not a difficult one, but it's an involved one. Until a little later, but here we are. Whiteboard's out. We've got things to talk about. Today we're talking about purpose, which you can imagine is a pretty big topic. I mean, we have people who spend their lives trying to find their purpose, right? And so I want to make it very simple as I can make it. Now, I'm not talking about individual purposes, but I am talking about a sort of collective purpose. Okay, and really, a purpose is just a meat, right? So let me define it for you first. I love to start with definitions, as you know. Purpose is essentially why we're here. Why do we exist? Why were we created, right? And people spend their lives trying to figure it out. So everybody's purpose is a little different, but at the end of the day, you're here, you're human, and all humans are here for the same thing. And I don't want to oversimplify it, but it really is simple. And most profound truths often are, we're here to choose life or choose death. Just that simple. We are here to choose life, choose death, right? That's 4,000 years old. You can find that in the book of Deuteronomy, right? You can find that in all the old texts on this idea that we're here to follow positive source or negative source. And that's why I kind of put up here for you this visual of what it is to choose life and what it is to choose death, right? Because a lot of people, if you're thinking physically, then you're thinking to surface level, right? Everybody, I mean, some people do choose death, quite literally, and I can tell you why, and I will later on, but physically is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about emotionally. People grow in a lot of different ways. We grow emotionally, we grow mentally, we grow intellectually, we grow spiritually, we grow energetically, we grow in a lot sexually. We grow in a lot of ways that have very little to do with our physical bodies. So I'm not thinking about or talking about choosing life or choosing death. You didn't get a choice in whether you're born or not. None of us did, right? Our parents chose that for us. We were brought into this world because they wanted us, not because we wanted to be here, right? So emotionally and mentally, that's what I mean when I say choose life. Now, when we're choosing life, it means we are living a life on purpose where we're doing all of these things. We are loving people. We are bringing light to people. We are bringing truth to the best of our ability, to our level of self-awareness, and we are self-aware. We are acting in a selfless manner, again, to the best of our ability. We are acting in alignment with our spirit, our inner life, who we are on the inside. We are experiencing joy in our life. We're experiencing peace in our life. We are living in abundance, whatever that means for us. But it means that we have enough. We have more than enough, right? We have gratitude. I didn't put that up there, but I could have. We're being respectful. We're being kind to everybody. That is how we're living our life, right? We are here to choose how we want to be. And those people who are billionaires and millionaires and, abundantly blessed in material things, sometimes they get there through choosing life. And sometimes they get there through choosing death. Because we're not talking about material. We're talking about the immaterial. We're talking about how we are living emotionally and mentally. If you are living in a state where you are feeling lost, you're feeling like you're in the dark, you're feeling like you are in a pit of despair and misery, you're feeling miserable, you're impatient, you are a little bit rude, you're fearing, you are, honestly, I think I want to put here the opposite of love, maybe hate, but more than that, fear. Because really, at the end of the day, when we're living in death, we're living in fear. And what we are afraid of most of the time is not making enough, not having enough, not being enough, not doing enough, not providing enough. We live in that fear, that place of fear, and that means we're living in death at the end of the day. Because look, lack and scarcity is in the death category. So if you're living in a place where you have these negative emotions because you feel like you don't have enough, you don't do enough, you aren't enough, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough this, I don't have enough that, that's your mentality. You're living in the winter of your life. When I say winter, which I put down here, what I mean is emotionally, mentally, you are in a winter, which is to say you're in a dark place, you're in a dead place, you're in a scary place, you're in a cold place, you're not thriving. Maybe you're not even surviving. You're dying, right? Because this is thriving, this is surviving, this middle space, which we'll talk about, and this is dying, this is death, right? So if you are finding that any of this stuff that I'm saying resonates with you, it means that you're probably feeling really lost. You're probably feeling really lost because you're not living in purpose, on a purpose, with your purpose, because you don't know what it is, because you're living in death. And I'm here to tell you, your purpose, just like everybody else's purpose, is to choose life. And it's hard to do until it gets easy. But while we're transitioning, it is tough. It can be really hard to do that because people are mean, people are rude and critical and judgmental, and they're all living in this space, right? If we're rude, if we're critical, if we're judgmental, I have rude here, but if we have critical or we have judgmental, I might have spelled that wrong. I think I did. But anyway, when you're living in a space where you're critical or judgmental or hating on people, I've said it before, I'll say it again, the empty can makes the loudest noise. If you're living in that space, in that place, you're probably not listening to me, and you're probably sowing death wherever you go. Metaphorical, metaphysical, energetic, spiritual death. Again, not talking about physical, because remember, in the winter of our life, physically, we're usually older, right? In the life cycle, we have 0 to 25 is the spring, you're growing, you're changing, right? 25 to 50, and again, I'm overgeneralizing here, but you get the picture, and I talked about this in my very, very first video, almost a year ago. 25 to 50 is the sort of summer of your life, you're thriving, and everything's kind of lining up, and physically you're in the most mature place, and then 50 to 75, you're in that autumn of your life, you're kind of dying, things are decaying, you're losing your eyesight, you're losing your ability to walk, you're losing, your hair and your teeth and all those things that happen to us in the flesh. And then winter, you are on your way out, right? You're 75 to 100, you're making your will, that maybe you lost some inches, maybe you lost some inches this way and you gained some inches that way because everything slows down and gravity's really working on you, and that makes sense. That's physical cycle, right? Spring, summer, winter, or fall, winter. But in your emotional life, you can be living in the spring of your physical life and the winter of your emotional life. So that's why you see people out there who are 12, 13, 14, 15 years old who are depressed and suicidal, right? Because they're living emotionally in a winter that they cannot get out of. Because they're living all these things, because they're living around people who are critical and judgmental and rude, and they don't feel like they belong, and they don't feel like they, have a purpose at the end of the day. And our purpose is to choose life or choose death. And a lot of us do not know that. We're not aware of that. And so what we end up doing is living this sort of middle ground. Right, we live this middle space, and I would say, I don't want to say 10% are here, 10% are here, or 80 are here. It's probably a bit more even, maybe it's like 30, 30, 30, but a lot of people live in this space, and I do mean a lot. They're lost, right? They're living in this, what I call this pavement place, right? They're not in the pit where things are despairing and dead and miserable and just downtrodden and lost. They're not in the palace where things are great and life is going wonderfully and everything is great and abundant and rich and thriving. They're in this middle place. And again, I'm not talking about the low class, the middle class, and the wealthy. That's not what I'm talking about. That's material resources. And you have a lot of rich people who are really living in emotional pits. You have a lot of people who have tried to compensate with material wealth, and what ends up happening is that they are still miserable and depressed and kill themselves, right? We saw that with like Robin Williams. We've seen that with a lot of people, and it's very sad. We don't understand it because we're like, well, you have everything. Yeah, well, having things on the surface is nothing. You have to have it on the inside. You have to. Well, actually, you don't have to. You don't have to do anything. But if you want to live in alignment with purpose, you have to at least know this stuff. I don't care what you pick, right? We're here to pick. If you choose death, hey, fine. You want to be miserable? You want to, bring people down? At least you've picked consciously. But what ends up happening is we don't even get to the life and death part because we don't even know we have a choice, right? So we're here to choose life or death. And a lot of people don't even know they're making a choice because they're not actually making a choice because they're not living intentionally. When we don't live intentionally, do you know what we're picking by default? When we don't know, we're not living on purpose, we're making people's lives harder through our ignorance. Well, guess what? When you're ignorant, you're hanging out in the death space. Unintentionally, right? Because a lot of people live here. This is what I like to call the autumn or the spring of life, right? Emotional life, mental life. So when we're living in our autumn or our spring, what we're doing, some days, because summer is a very steady place. I mean, everything cycles, everything's changing. But when we're in a summer space, things are at their height, right? They're at their sort of zenith, right? They're high. They're pretty constant for a while, of course, until they move on. But they're constant. It's nothing's transitioning really too much. And same with winter. Everything's dead out, right? Like literally dead outside. I mean, yes, we have evergreen trees that live, and there are things that are thriving. Snow is thriving right now, but at the end of the day, things are mostly dead. If you've ever seen The Princess Bride, right? He's only mostly dead. But no, mostly dead. And things are mostly alive in summer, right? Like at the height of their lifespan, a lot of times. In autumn and in spring, things are transitioning, right? So things are growing in spring and things are dying in fall. And we live in this place where we're constantly going up and going down and going up and going down and going up and going down in our emotional life because we're letting our external circumstances dictate our inner life. That's when you live in that middle space, the autumn and the spring. When you let your inner life dictate your outer life, you're living in these two. And make no mistake, there are people who pick this. There are people who prefer death because we have evil in this world and we have a negative source from which that comes. There are people who prefer to be bad, right? We have murderers and rapists and they're serial. It wasn't an accident. It didn't happen accidentally. It wasn't a one and done thing. We have real problems in this world because people do purposefully choose death, right? They do. Not everybody, not every criminal is a bad person. You know what I mean? There are people who really do deserve to be punished by the law to the extent because they are picking this death and they are choosing harm over good. There are also everyday people who broke the law accidentally, broke the law unintentionally, broke the law without realizing the law they're breaking. Like I was in that, And so you speed, you break the law. You don't wear your mask now, you break the law. You run your business when they tell you not to, you break the law. So you have to be careful. But when you are breaking universe laws, not talking about like governmental laws, universe laws, when you take a life, that's a serious infraction in the universe. It's a very big one. Because you're playing God. You don't get to decide. But that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But people do pick this. But at least they know they're picking it. People also pick this. These are the good people who are trying to help. But so many people, your average person is in this place. And we are coming as if you know anything about the sort of spiritual community, we are coming to a place where this divide is more pronounced. It's getting more and more pronounced every day. I think you can kind of tell things are heating up in a way that people are kind of like vehemently on one side or another. We're getting there. And I'm not only talking politics, I'm not talking right and left, although it's very evident there. And I'm certainly not talking black and white, because that's not just no. But I am talking about living morally or immorally, right? We have moral livers, we have immoral livers, and then we have amoral livers that don't really realize what's going on. I have lived in this space where sometimes I was growing and like doing the right thing and being morally aligned, and then other times I was letting the flesh dictate and living it not that great, right? Our flesh dictates what we do, and it's very selfish most of the time, because when we cater to the needs of our flesh, we're living a shallow life, and we are usually hurting people, kind of unintentionally, sometimes intentionally, but most of the time unintentionally, right? Amoral people are not trying to hurt people, they just are hurting people, right? It's like villains, monsters, heroes. These are the people who are trying to help. These are the people who are kind of collateral damage, and these are the people who are trying to hurt. That's our purpose. And it is, listen, if you want to know if this is true or not, look around at all of our entertainment. Listen to the songs. Listen to what people say and talk about. Listen to, watch movies, watch TV shows. It always comes down to this. It's about falling in love or falling out of love. It's about helping people or hurting people. It's about getting rich or dying trying. You know what I mean? Like, it really is. And I'm not saying there's a dichotomy, because it's bigger than that. There's also this third path. It's not a great path. I don't suggest it. Lived it. Not fun. Much better to decide. And personally, I like this one. That's just me. You know, it doesn't mean you won't mess up, but it does mean you're living in an alignment where you're trying to do good no matter where you go. Because if you're intentionally trying to do good, doesn't mean you won't do bad, but it means your intentions are to do good. You're trying to help whoever you help. Doesn't mean someone won't get offended. Doesn't mean you won't piss somebody off, because there's people out there who will get pissed off no matter what you do. But if you can say, listen, I know I tried to help, right? Like the other day, I offered somebody, like, you know, I was like, hey, can I tip you? And they were like mortally offended. I know I was trying to be nice. I'm trying to spread love. Everybody needs more love. That person didn't take it that way. Totally fine for them to not take it that way. I'm not rejected. I'm not upset, because I'm living in alignment with knowing who I am. I'm self-aware, right? I know who I am. I know what I do. And too many of us live in this place. We don't know ourselves. We are lost. I don't think I wrote it, but let me write it. We are no identity. I don't want to say lost. We have no identity. We don't know who we are. We don't know why we're here, right? Now, that can get to a place of loss, right? It's at first you might just be unsure and overwhelmed. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to try some things and figure it out. But then nothing sticks, and life gets hard, and we get to this place. We start to spiral downwards if we don't have people who help us spiral upwards. But at the end of the day, we are accountable for ourselves. Now, I know this isn't involved. Purpose is simple and deceptively simple. Our purpose at the end of the day is to choose life or choose death. That's it. Choose kindness or choose hate. Choose fear. And by default, a lot of times we're choosing fear because that's the world we live in. The world we live in picks this one. The world we live in picks this one a lot of times. Really does. People, individuals who work hard and try to make things better for people, they pick this one. But a lot of times we live in a world that picks this one. Right? And it's why at the age of, 14, 15, people are killing themselves. It's like, why? You're 15. What the heck? I mean, I could talk about this all day. I'm excited to talk about this all week. I definitely am. But it is not a lot. It's just, once you grasp it, it makes things so much easier. it makes things so much easier. So where do you identify, right? These words, if you're saying, oh, I want that, but I don't know how to get that, right? When you're thinking, oh, I want to be that person. I want to be selfless. I want to be abundant. I want to be kind. I want to be joyful. I want to be peaceful, right? You're like, I want all those things, but I don't have them. You're probably in this place. And by accident, not on purpose, you don't know, you kind of probably are defaulting over here to this place. Right? And so choosing life is choosing kindness. It is choosing morals. It is choosing values. It is discipline, being disciplined, right? All these things I talk to you about all the time, right? That's me trying to help you choose life, you know, because that's what we do here at Seasons and Signs Academy. We try to help you choose life. I mean, these trees are leaves, trees, all these things, you know, they're in full bloom. We're trying to help you choose life here because we've been in a place where if you choose death, you're miserable and life is no fun. And life is so much more fun when we value peace and we value joy and we live that out, right? It is the way in which good things can happen to you and in your life. So if you are in this middle ground and you want to come up higher into that life-giving place and you don't know how to do it by yourself, that's why we have coaching, right? That's why we have coaching, so we can take that step, we can become more accountable, and we can learn, because at the end of the day, we sometimes have to learn. I had to learn how to be like this, and we don't teach it in institutions in academia, right? This is a self-journey, self-transformational journey we all have to go on, should we decide to. Some of us are just going to live here and not do anything about it, and some are going to choose to live here, and it's going to be on them. That's their choice, right? It's everybody's journey to live as they want to live it. So that's what we're here for at Seasons and Signs, right? We're here for helping you find life. If you're in a winter emotional, mental space, we're here to help you transform. But like all things transformational, it starts with you. It starts with you. And I hope you come on this journey. It's a good one. It's the harder path. It is an easier path to look out for yourself and say, screw everybody else. You know, it's a harder path to be aware of the hurt and the suffering that's in the world. It's a harder path to be open, right? Because open and closed, I could put that down. These people are closed off. They're like, no, they're fearful. They like hold on tight to their stuff. They're like, no, closed fist. Like, no, I don't want to give this away. People who choose life are like, yeah, take it. It'll be replaced. It can be replaced. I'm not attached to it. You can have it. You know? This is a really deep one. It's a very deep topic. We're going to be talking about it all week, as you all know. I hope that the visual helped. There's a lot to talk about, but at the end of the day, our purpose is to choose life or choose death. That is it. If we stay in the middle ground, kind of defaulting to death. I don't want to lie to you, right? You're defaulting to death most of the time, because in the middle, you're still ignorant, you're still unaware, you're still uncertain, and all of those things are low vibrational death source type things. Again, remember, emotional death, metaphorical death. Anyway, over my time, so I hope this lesson was helpful to you. I hope it's helpful to whoever's watching. And oh, I wanted to just say one more thing. We have 15 subscribers right now. Love 15 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing. I made kind of a pledge to myself that at every 20 interval or increment until 100, I'll drop a personal story, right? So 20, when we hit 20, I'll give you guys a personal story, get some background of me and my life, and, you know, give you that. If we get to 40, I'll give you another one. I have no end of personal stories, so I can tell you all about them. 60, 80, and then when we get to 100, which I'm really excited for, because I know we're going to get there, then we get our own URL. Excited for that. But when we get to 100, I'll bump it up to 25. So when we get to 125 subscribers story, 150, 175, 200, I'll bump it up to like 30. You know, I'll jump it up every time. So it's not too many stories, because I'm really here to help. Really here to help you choose life. I mean, really, choose life. It's so important for you, for the world. We need it. And we need what you have to offer. That's the thing, because when you're living life in alignment, when you're choosing life, you're living life in an authentic way. And when you are your authentic self, you glow. You're you. And that's what we need. We don't need more clones. We don't need more clowns. We need you. Real you. Masks off. COVID, right? But masks off. Not who the world wants you to be, but who you are, right? And so if we can help you with that, contact us at www.michelinaeichel.com. Like and subscribe, hit the comments, and thank you guys for allowing me to bring this to you. Bye.